Hi, this is Frank Prendergast for xtra.ca. I'm here with Nick Mule of Queer Ontario. Nick, thanks for being with us.
Great to be here.
Now, so far, we have a very narrow race for the Liberal leadership of Ontario, and both the candidates are gay. What does that say to you?
Well, I think it's interesting that thus far, no straight people have put their names forward. But I don't expect that to last very long. I think there will be others that will come forward. But it is noteworthy and it's interesting because it will be an opportunity for these candidates to speak to the issues that affect our communities. And it'll be possibly a bit of a test to see how far they're willing to go in terms of addressing the kind of issues that we identify as being important for ourselves.
And what are the issues? What are the issues that you see as being important in this leadership campaign?
Well, one of the issues that has come about is the issue of education on numerous fronts. We had Bill 13 passed this past spring, in which we got to a place of ensuring that GSAs could be created in schools regardless of what boards that they're in, whether students are registered with or enrolled with Catholic schools as well as with the secular, the public schools, the French-speaking, the English-speaking. So that was a good move on that part, but all the same, we're well aware that the pastoral guidelines continue to exist in Catholic schools that basically denigrate queer youth. And that's a problem. We feel that's quite discriminatory and something that should not continue to exist in this day and age in the province of Ontario. Mm-hmm. There's the issue of curriculum in terms of sex education. And in terms of our perspective at Queer Ontario, we even take it further in talking about the education of professionals here in the province of Ontario. Professionals such as physicians, nurses, social workers, lawyers. There's hardly any formalized education, and the province can do something to address that in terms of guidelines for curriculum. And of course, we have a stance at Queer Ontario where we are calling for the defunding of Catholic schools, and we feel that's really important in this day and age because funding one religion over all others is problematic, and we are a secular society, and we should be going the route of a one school system that supports a public perspective.
Now, you've heard comments from both Kathleen Wynne and Glenn Murray. Neither seems willing to touch it at this point. What do you think about that?
I think that's really unfortunate. I think when we're hearing arguments that are as old and as exhausted as saying that the Constitution limits us from being able to make a change there, for one, it's not true, it's not right. I would hope that these politicians have a sense of history in this country, in the sense that we would not be setting a precedent here in Ontario. 3 provinces have already dropped religion from their education systems, being Manitoba, Quebec, and Newfoundland. And the same can be done here in Ontario. They did it differently based on the context they were coming from. We may need to be creative in how we're doing it. We have an active legal case before the courts right now as we speak, and there are lawyers working on arguments to address that in terms of developing ways to make that change. And twice we've been called out by the United Nations for being a discriminatory province, for allowing this to happen for one religion and not others, or for that matter, not holding up our secular values. So I would hope politicians could be a bit more creative and innovative and not forget the fact that there are youth out there who continue to be discriminated in that system.
Both Kathleen Wynne and Glenn Murray work towards GSAs. Both seem to be not willing to touch the whole defunding of Catholic schools. I know that you're a nonpartisan organization, but how would you rate them, at least on the issues from what you've heard?
Well, it was a bit of a complicated situation with regard to Bill 13 because we had always argued that bill was never necessary in the first place, that there were guidelines, there were policies already in place. The problem was that the Liberal Party didn't implement them. And it got to a point where, through pressure through the opposition, they decided to create this bill to address it, meaning one issue, and that was the issue of bullying, when in fact the issues were far broader than that when it came to GSAs. So yes, we appreciated the support that came through, but we have never lost sight of the fact that it was an exercise in trying to protect themselves as a party. I think both Kathleen Wynne and Glenn Murray have a history of doing what they can to support the communities. Kathleen Wynne, in her time as Minister of Education, was very much behind the drafting of the update on the curriculum guidelines for sex education. And unfortunately, that didn't get put through. And even though they had promised ongoing consultations, to this day that has not happened, unfortunately, meaning a second round of consultations. And Glenn Murray did all he could as well with regard to the strife that started to come about with GSAs in terms of meeting with the community. So in essence, I mean, they did put themselves out there, but you know, how far they went and how they went about it, there are questions.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, and we'll be checking in, I guess, throughout the campaign to see how the candidates are stacking up.
Great. Thanks so much.